Hello, Space Watchers. Welcome to Space Café Radio, a channel dedicated to emerging trends in the space industry. I'm Yvette Gonzalez, your host today for a conversation with Time Trigger Technology at TTTech Aerospace. Their technology is the nervous system of Ariane 6 and every module of NASA's Lunar Gateway. And it all started with a question. How can we make complex computer systems used in various machines as dependable and safe as possible? TTTech was founded as a university spinoff in Vienna in 1998. They have over 1 billion flight hours in safety-critical aviation and are a backbone player in space. Today, we'll unpack how a European tech company quietly became indispensable to the global space infrastructure. My guests are Christian Fidi, General Manager for TTTech, a returning guest to Space Café Radio, and Sascha Vice President for Engineering and Product Development. Christian Fidi has been with TTTech for more than 10 years, and he held technical responsibility for market development and project management before being promoted to lead the business entity Aerospace at TTTech in 2020. And then he was appointed General Manager in 2023. Sascha joined TTTech in 2025. Prior, Sascha was head of Engineering International Computing and Networking Products and Systems at Collins Aerospace in Germany. Sascha brings more than 20 years of leadership experience in aerospace engineering to this team, as well as the development know-how in aerospace electronic systems and software. His focus is now design and development for TTTech Aerospace, leading all things engineering. Welcome to you both. I'm going to start with Christian. There's something intriguing about TTTech Aerospace. You have a fingerprint on some of the most consequential moments in modern aerospace, and yet the organization operates rarely in the spotlight. I'm curious, is that by design or simply what happens when the work demands everything?
Yeah, we have started in highest safety critical systems, as you said, as a spin-off of the Technical University in Vienna. And that really was very much technical, technology focused. And we always were really working and pushing forward on getting these things certified, getting these things up in the air. And we have seen a tremendous change in the applications. So we are really able to improve the application significantly and make it even more reliable and robust, even if the complexity is increasing. So the software, the number of lines of code, the complexity of the systems is really exploding, and we are able to somehow manage that. So in our mission, that was always in the forefront to really achieve the systems, get it out, get it flying. And as you said, we have accumulated now a lot of heritage. So there's a lot of hours that our systems have operated without any faults. And this is quite impressive. And we were not that present in all the media, but now it's coming since all our systems are starting to fly. Like Orion, it took quite a lot of years to get Orion out and flying. And now there is prime time and the systems are working flawlessly. Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, we're watching that in real time. Sascha, so you bring more than 2 decades of aerospace engineering leadership to this conversation. Most recently, you were with Collins Aerospace, where you shaped international computing and networking systems like at scale. You recently joined TTTech and stepping into a role that spans systems, software, chip design, and chief engineering. That's a remarkable vantage point. So I'm curious, from that perch, what struck you about TTTech's particular position in the aerospace ecosystem?
Yeah, but first of all, welcome to everyone on this podcast. And thanks for inviting us to this podcast. What struck me to TTTech is the technology that TTTech developed over the course of the last 20 years, starting with time-triggered protocol, getting that into aircraft, now getting it into space, which is an incredible achievement. And I just can congratulate the team, what they accomplished over the last 20 years to get to where the companies are. And I'm really happy to be part of that organization starting last year, actually. It's wonderful to be part of that team and hopefully driving additional things forward in that area.
Exactly. Speaking of that, having more than 1 billion flight hours in aviation, this is for you, Sascha. It's impressive heritage, but deep space is a different beast as we're watching. Where does that heritage genuinely translate for TTTech now? And where does it translate currently? And then where will it demand that you start from zero?
So let me try to answer this question in that way. TTTech, we have, as I said, deep technical knowledge in safety critical and time critical technology, which is the basis for aviation as well as for space and for many other sectors. And we developed a product for harsh environments. There is harsh environment in aviation. It's even harsher environment in space. And we are leveraging the expertise on both to drive our product forward in a meaningful way. And then reusing as much as possible from a certification perspective and from a qualification perspective on our product.
Okay.
Yeah, we leverage that experience for continuous improvements in our product developments going forward and also in the certifications. Certifications are somehow different, but on the other hand, they are somehow equal. And the more we leverage from each other, the more savings in time and cost we will have.
That makes sense. Okay. And I think that brings me to my question for Christian, which is you built one core technology, the TTEthernet, and you use it across aviation, space, defense, energy. Why does that matter for your space partners?
I think it's really also for us internally and for the market. Yeah, we are trying to really address with one core technology a larger market because the systems are getting more complex and the development is getting more complex. And this means you need to have the breadth and the development effort and need to be able to commercially cover that. So we are seeing ourselves as a technology company, which is investing around 75% of our turnover in product development. Yeah, because we believe in the technology. We believe that this has a value to the end customer. And we see a lot of very positive signs on the market and in our applications that we are having, which really strengthens us in doing that, in having this drive, bringing this technology to the market. And there is a huge demand on that with all the very complex systems, as already said. And this really is something that helps the drive and also motivates the people to see the application in which the system is deployed. And that's quite impressive. And the systems are not that different between the different industries or industry segments. So civil aviation and human spaceflight in safety is very similar. And as Sascha said, if you work on a system that is able to tolerate faults, where things can fail, and it still keeps operating, you can use no matter if it's on the moon or if it's in the airspace. And that's quite interesting. And we were always striving this idea of having commonalities and not inventing the wheel all the time, being able to scale it. And I think this was what was driving us the past 10 years or more than 10 years and was really quite successful.
So I guess my question is that scaling, does that mean that you're going to continue expanding product lines to capture that demand that you're talking about?
Yes, our DNA is coming from how to build a system safe, right? How to connect multiple computers in an application and make that safe and reliable. And we were in the past, I would say 15 years, we were working on the core. And the core was the networking technology, which allows you to do this and to enable the real performance of the overall system. And now we having that established with all the certifications from NASA and ESA and FAA and so on. And now we are building on top. And this then really allows you to, on top, establish things like AI algorithms for autonomy, where you can really do autonomous operations of spacecrafts, aircrafts, and you have the certified base below, which is essential to be able to do this functionality. And this is currently a big trend in the market, and this is what we are following.
Okay. And so, Sascha, in that context, offering off-the-shelf products for space, how does that change the conversation with cost and schedule-driven customers in space?
Cost and schedule are the main key drivers these days, especially time to market is absolutely key. And if we develop our products according to market needs, then we are usually faster to the market compared to someone that's only building products according to customer spec. We are sanitizing the market. We are analyzing what is needed across the domains, whether it's aviation, space, or defense, or adjacent markets. And based on those market requirements, we create our product requirements. And based on those, we are building our products for various markets. And the more we can keep the products aligned between those markets, and they will not be 100% the same, but the more we can keep them aligned and reuse the building blocks that we defined, the easier it is to build those products, because then you need not the big amount of workforce. You can do it the same efforts with less if you have more reuse across the areas. And that's why we gain our time to market.
Yeah, I mean, Germany is opening up huge defense and space budgets. And are you gearing up for fundamentally different demand signal from that?
I would say we are looking definitely into the German market, since the German market is growing significantly on the defense side, but also on the space side and on the space defense side. And for that reason, we also have a subsidiary in Germany, and we are looking into how we can further increase that capability in Germany.
Okay, wow. And Christian, I mean, in that same line of thinking, the new security doctrine is now calling for European supply chains, more sovereignty-focused operational imperative. What does that moment mean for TTTech?
It was always very interesting because we always had a large portion of our aerospace revenue was in the US. Yeah, we were even at 80% at certain points in time. And this always had to do that new technology was way faster adopted in the US, which we still see, but as Sascha already mentioned. So now Europe tries to catch up and speed up and really also adopt to newer technologies. So we see currently a huge amount of opportunities because there is a way higher demand on the systems. And we are specialized for safety, but also for mission systems. So everything that has to do with real time, with security, with having systems which are working reliably in that area. And then together with communication, it has currently a high demand. And especially for this type of systems, we came up with NASA talking about systems of systems, I think around 15 years ago. Yeah. And everybody said, what is systems of systems? And now everybody is talking about systems of systems. How can an aircraft, a satellite, a spacecraft can be integrated into a communication network? Yeah. So that they can work with each other, can use sensors from the other to bring more awareness of the environment. And this is now everywhere. And this is where we are specialized in. How can you control vehicles? How can you operate that into a larger system? And that in a safe, secure manner. This is where we are specialized in. And this is currently a big market trend. This is where all the systems are focusing. And that goes from systems where you want to operate things autonomously, but it also goes into complete integrated systems, for example, for protection, all type of Iron Dome kind of systems. So there is currently a big demand and there is missing technology. And this is a very interesting market currently for us.
So you're saying right now, Europe is backing companies like yours, or is the default still right now in this kind of transition to still purchase American?
I think currently, I would say some kind of a sovereignty thinking. But there is also the topic that we know that we need to work with each other and that the systems need to integrate. So yes, there is more, I would say, national budgets coming up to develop the things. But then the integration into a larger system is only possible if the countries work together. And we see that very strongly. There's a lot of more standardization of the interfaces to be able to connect the systems together, which brings a lot of opportunities. And we have always been working on this type of open standards in our systems, which are now more and more demanded. So I think there's a very interesting movement in the industry, which helps a lot and a lot of demand on technology. And that is quite interesting. But it needs to have a lot of countries working together because the systems are getting very complex. And that in Europe with the next generation fighter jet programs, right? It's unbelievable. It takes years to develop an engine. It takes years to develop these systems. So there is a large cooperation needed to be able to establish that.
Absolutely. So I shift this and I ask this question to both of you, but Sascha, if we can start with you. Now thinking about the future, right? This is the context. We talked about how your heritage and how you've gotten here, but looking ahead. So imagine 3 years from now. And that's a short time period, really, but 3 years from now. What does TTTech Aerospace look like? Is there more products, more markets, more people? And what's the one thing Europe needs to get right to keep companies like yours competitive globally? So start with you, Sascha.
Yeah, I think what Christian just mentioned with regards to open standards is absolutely key. Our company developed the products according to open standard and not just as many people think or are talking about it's proprietary. It's not. It's developed according to open standards, and that will enable the technology to be leveraged across Europe, across the world. Yeah, and that's a key thing. Having said that, I think in 3 years from now, we will have a prosperous growth because we have a technology that is really needed on the market, whether it's space, whether it's aviation, or whether it's defense, or even adjacent markets that really need that technology. And TTTech is one of the only companies outside of the US that has this technology and can build safety critical and time critical systems. According to what Christian earlier mentioned, system of systems, that's the capability we can bring to the table and also help our customers to build their platform technology with the underlying technology that we can provide. So I see a prosperous growth over the next 5 years. And that's also a reason why I decided to work for TTTech, because, as I said, the technology is just great and the market is there right now.
Wonderful. And for you, Christian, same question. 3 years from now, what does TTTech look like? And what does Europe need to get right to keep companies like yours competitive globally?
We have, let's say, our core was always highest safety critical system in civil aviation, human exploration launchers. Yeah. And we have then developed more into higher speeds, more data, which brought us then to more defense mission systems type of applications. And then we found out that this is extremely valuable for satellite communication and satellite constellations. Yeah. And what we are currently seeing is that there is demand for these communication systems overall that are integrating. So there, I think the importance now is really that we are not, let's say, in a rush, just putting together what we have, right? So that we really develop the things that are needed and that are open to cope with the requirements of now and of the future, to be ahead on technology and to be ahead on the capability of the system. And we see that currently a lot. There is a lot of invest currently going on, and we have a lot of opportunities currently out. So I think it's really the topic now that the demand on this technology is so high that we will really develop quite heavily over the next 3 years. And we also have planned that out. And for us, the difficulty is to keep the core together because we don't have infinite resources in our development. And Sascha is running our development team excellent. And we are really gaining a lot of speed by bringing in new methods on how to develop things. And the team is heavily motivated, and we have really excellent people in all domains and have built up a lot of systems know-how. And now it's really the time to keep this together. Yeah, because all the markets are a little bit different, even if they would not need to be different. Yeah, but they have developed differently, right? So in space, the systems are having slightly different standards, and in civil aviation, the systems having slightly different standards. Yeah, and they will never agree on the same standard. But to keep this core together is really our difficulty. And what is there important is that we really have this drive of innovation, and that we are having also the fuel of really productizing that. Yeah, because to productize something for civil aviation, highest safety critical system, takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, because you need to test all of it. And it's a different rigor of quality with a lot of work, a lot of reviews and so on, versus the time to market you need in other areas like satellite communication, where it's really currently the drive to get the satellite up. And if you want to do that in 2 years, it's already too slow. Yeah. And there, to keep the technology the same and the core product the same is not that easy. This is really the difficulty in our current system. And this is really also important that this is known and recognized by all the players, because sometimes you have a very strong push into get it up, but you need to also certify it for other use. This is very demanding on the organization, on the people. And this is why it's great to work with our team. Yeah, because they really have to drive, on the one hand side, speed up, on the other hand side, get it done. So you need both. It's a sprint, but also a marathon.
It's the challenge always of scale, but preserve. And that, I think that duality is where companies either find their niche or they either can't advance. So that's overcoming that challenge is going to be a big one. But I'm excited for your team. You both sound very hopeful to meet that challenge. So I have really enjoyed talking to you both. I know it was a short time. I could talk to you for much longer. And I certainly learned so much today. Thank you so much for your time. And to wrap up, I really want just a brief final closing thought that you want to leave our listeners with. So, Christian, any final thoughts you want to leave the listener with?
We were really very much, let's say, this mission orientation, right? And we have seen that now with the Artemis 2 launch, when you really see it happening. And I would like to tell this story. I don't know whom of our listeners have seen this NASA documentary on Apollo, But when they explain, right, this procedure of the astronauts moving into the capsule, and the capsule is 300 feet high up on top of a huge rocket, alone this feeling that you have as an astronaut, before the launch. And when you really, let's say, waiting for the start of the rocket, and then you go for this mission, right? I think it's impressive. And I'm believing that the people, or a lot of us and a lot of the people out there, after all this topic about COVID, pandemic and lockdown and whatever, they need something where they can really feel and believe in. And I was impressed by the Artemis 2 launch, how this was done and how this was brought to the people. It was very much like if you watch a very interesting action movie, right, where you are really packed by the mission going on. And for me, it was really done very well. And if you really bring your mind into what the astronauts need to think, right, it's really impressive. And I love to be in that industry. And I love to have this mission focus. And I think for all of us, is that if you explain that to your family, I have very small kids, they are so impressed. And I think this is really what we should never forget, is this mission focus and for what we are doing the things. And this is also great in our team at TTTech, because the people are really driven by that. And the more you see this excitement, the more fun and the more drive you are having in your daily work, right?
Absolutely. And I can say, sitting on the edge of my seat, holding my breath, watching this, I still marvel at the fact that this is created by so many people collaborating. And it is quite magic, right? To see something like that actually take place. Sascha?
Yeah, to what Christian just said, I would like to add, it's really impressive to be part of that team. And on top of that, whenever it comes to safe and secure systems, that's where TTTech is the right partner to work with anyone that is out there to keep the environment safe, to keep the people safe, to keep the world safe.
Absolutely. A huge thank you to you both for joining us today. It has been a genuinely engaging conversation, and I think our listeners have walked away with incredible insights. So we're so grateful for your time, and we hope to have you back again soon.
Thank you, Yvette, for the conversation.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you have further questions, reach out to us at radio@spacewatch.Global. If you like these or other episodes of Space Cafe Radio, leave us a rating on your preferred podcast platform. If you want to stay on the pulse of the space industry, please visit our website at www.spacewatch.Global and subscribe to our newsletters. And of course, don't forget to become a Space Watcher. I'm Yvette Gonzalez with SpaceWatch.Global, your independent perspective on space. Tune in next time, because what happens in space matters on Earth.